Right, today's video has actually changed. What we're going to be doing is showing you some old footage that we thought we'd lost, but transferring all the files over to the new computer has restored them, and now they play with sound again. Don't know what happened there. So I'll put a card on the screen now, and that's a link to the video where we took this engine to bits. So if you're new to the channel, have a glance through there, have a watch of that. And then this video then follows after it. We thought, well, rather than show you the first startup and fitting the engine today, we'll take a glance back and look at some of the work that happened to the engine as we rebuilt it. We did a top end rebuild and lapped all the valves because she failed a leak down test and was pouring air out the valves. And you'll see from the state of some of the inlet valves that it was quite bad and banging back through the inlets. So we'll have a glance through that today. And then the next video on the Avri, which will probably be next week, will be then fitting the engine and its first startup, and it runs lovely. It's quite interesting how these engines go together. They're not quite the normal. Here comes the train. It's going slow. Must be didn't want to make so much noise for my intro. We are missing a couple of little bit of clips of that footage still. We haven't got lapping the valves, which is a bit annoying, and clean all them up and how we measured them and did all that. But you'll see that on the next Rolls Royce engine building video, which will be soon again. We've got several engines on the go. It's about time we show you some of the Antar engine too. So, right, here we go. Let's start removing some of the valves. So the bank is on the forklift, it's on a pallet, and we're now stripping the valves out. Ready, so we're hoping we're going to get away with a bit of a lap. And they're just a bit coked up, carboned up, which is common in old engines. These don't run valve stem seals, so oil and stuff does sit on the back of the valves, which doesn't help. Yes.
Which one are we on?
Number one.
Number one, okay, I was trying to number two. Oh, I was on number two.
Ah.
Yeah.
These can get... Whoa! I'll adjust him. Inlet valves are longer.
Yeah.
So many who've done engines before know that collets are a little fiddly. That one wasn't too bad actually. Generally you can get like a little magnetic screwdriver or something, but nope, these are bronze. So you can't even get your magnetic screwdriver to dig them out. Right, so if we pull this off and have a look at this now. So these have an O-ring in here, which always breaks down. Makes it a faff to pull off. Even that O-ring actually is not that bad. So you've got double valve spring, a top hat which can crack off there and just wear up for the inner spring, the valve himself,
I can feel the carb on the back of it.
ooh, I've seen worse. So, I hate getting these collars out, they're awful. One thing we have noticed, now we're open to the public, and obviously you can look round, those that have come and had a look Notice that our workshop's open so you can come and talk to us, come and see us. It has been great to meet you all, and you know, just chat, and you come and see what we're up to. We have thoroughly enjoyed meeting you all. One of you guys is currently going across the continent on a Honda C90, and we still think that's really cool. What isn't cool is these collets. Good top hat. Again, the O-ring in here is pretty alright. So we shall get the rest of the valves out, and then we'll join you on the workbench with them when we have a measure up and see how bad or how worn they are. A couple of bits on the valve we don't want to wire brush, that being this section, the stem that goes up and down in the guide. But as you can see on this inlet valve, it's a bit dark, but it is so full and sooty of carbon, it really should be nice and clean. You could mistake this for an exhaust valve. There's carbon all gone and nice and clean. That's the inlet valve. The exhaust valve is fairly oily and black and carboned, but that is because there is no valve stem seal. So they do run quite heavily and drip oil down the stem and onto the valve seat. Not very fun shape to try and wire brush. And that's one now clean exhaust valve. So let's get these in the light and have a look what's going on. One of the things we want to do to the engine for a couple of reasons is run a flex hone up and down the cylinders. A flex hone looks a little like this, and they are just little balls of aluminium oxide, like sandpaper. Our particular one is 240 grit, which is on the finer side for a flex hone. The idea of your honing marks in your cylinders is just to hold oil, keep everything sort of lubricated. Our engine's got a few hours on it, and most of that has now gone. And there's glaze and carbon and stuff built up into it. So I thought we'd run the flex hone. Because she is quite a used engine, the flex hone I think is better suited to the job, because what it does is, as per name, it flexes. So there's a little bit of a ridge, or not a ridge, but there's, you know, not quite round, or as cylinders do when they wear. The hone's just gonna make us quite oversized. where we just want to give it a nice sort of crosshatch. Rightly or wrongly, that's what I've done on worn engines before. As we said before in the beginning of the video, we're trying to get another year out of this. We have got an engine currently being rebuilt to replace this, but we're lacking a few parts we need. So anyone out there that does have any spares or access to spares for a Meteor, drop us a comment or ring the museum, get in contact us. Say again?
Donate them to us.
And yeah, we're poor people, so we can't spend fortunes.
Make nice stocking filler.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, back to the job in question, honing. Don't know how well you pick up on our cylinders. They look really bad in this camera, but that is just an oil line. There's nothing sinister going on there. So again, that is just, that wipes off. Again, that looks a little awful in the camera. Well, this camera makes our engine look completely scrap. It's not, by any sense of the word. So I suppose we make a start.
Paint flake. Paint that out.
Train. It wouldn't be a videoing with us at Tinkering with Tanks without a train. So the first job we need to do is we need to clean the cylinder. And we're just going to use clutch and brake cleaner for that. It's cheap and it does work well. People ask for extra lighting. We've got extra lighting. Just a heads up. Here in Norfolk, it is still raining, and the puddle on the drive is now deep enough that we actually found a scuba diver in there yesterday.
We had to put it on the maps.
Yeah.
Had to put it on the map, Lake Norfolk.
Yeah. The puddle of the driveway is now on the maps, Lake Norfolk. You are expected to have red and green lights, portboard and starboard navigational lights whilst travelling through it. I think they're red and green.
Yeah. Where we are as well, need your toll from the Broads Authority.
Yes, you need a boat licence. So where can I put you guys without splattering you with oil? So we're just spraying a load of oil in, let that trickle down. You need the flex hone quite well lubricated. What I don't want to do is get too carried away and lubricate the one that you haven't cleaned yet. The only downside to flex honing is it just does make a mess. So we should introduce everyone to the de-walkie.
Yep.
You saw our Milwaukee drill with the DeWalt truck, because Milwaukee trucks are crap.
Don't be slow to traffic, because I would like to be walking on it.
Oh, I know. You can't mist straight 30.
No.
The bottle. I thought I'd try just in case. Because obviously our cylinders are still bolted to the head. We desperately don't want to start flex honing our valve seats, the bottom of the head. So we've got this very high-tech piece of the lid of a baby formula bottle tub that we poke into the bottom of the cylinder. That keeps all that good stuff safe, clean and dry. Well, probably drier than I'm going to be in a minute. I suppose we make a start. I'm tired now. I'm all up for the other one.
And covered in oil.
Yes. So you can start to see, if we look down this side, you can see the angle it is by, well, you can see where the marks are leaving the oil behind. The awkward thing to do is is matching the speed of the drill with the up and down, so you kind of get left with sort of 35 to 45 degree, I think a touch more.
We can only really see that last spiral out in the oil.
After lapping for many hours, we are fine.
Of course we are. Oh, you just sprayed it all up into the cylinders.
Children.
He just sprayed it all up the clean cylinders.
Like children, look. This bit is this bit you'll have. This bit is your bit.
I'm spraying my bit.
Wash your car in a minute with this paintbrush, be careful. Maybe halfway.
Ironically, only one of them so far has been close to dropping the paintbrush down the catch tank.
That's the one with the bigger paintbrush.
Yeah. Feel like a drowned rat.
Done.
So now we've got a bank ready to go back onto the engine. Our first job is to weld seal these copper sealing rings, and then we've got these seals that go in the top. Luckily we have a guy just up the road from here.
Oh, you got that.
Luckily we've got a guy just up the road from here that rebuilds Merlins for the Spitfires and Lancs and stuff that still fly. So we've been to see him and got ourselves some seals. These seals here that go on the bottom of the head stud tubes, which are the oil drains, you have to be careful on and double check that your block is other end. Yeah, standard. Because in true Rolls Royce fashion, if you do have to skim the bottom of your cylinder block, you get a smaller O-ring. So they do a 2 foul undersized O-ring, 5 foul, 10 foul, 20 foul. But we're on standard, so we've got standard size. And then you get another O-ring, bigger O-ring that goes on the bottom of the liner and stops oil coming back out the crankcase. So let's get these ones on. So this is Well Seal, which is actually designed by Rolls Royce for engines of this era. It's kind of like a treacle consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, about that.
Down to me. So there's the end studs also have a top hat seal which you don't put back in. What happens is they're blocked off at the top, they're blocked off the bottom, they're not oil drains, and it builds up and you just get sludge and it rots the head stud tubes out, the head studs out. So you leave them open, bank the top off, so let it breathe. So we'll throw them in. Then we'll just throw one of these on for the camera. like how he's... The cameraman's gone all the way.
Yep. Let's get some B-roll for you.
So, and then these ones just go over the bottom of the liner. Then what you do is you nick Josh's paintbrush, push it down onto the well sill. Now to me. The trouble you got is, being quite a nice built engine, everything is so flat and so smooth that if you use anything like your epoxy sealants and bits like that, it makes it awful to get these apart. Hylamar and well seal is all you need. Last thing, them rock, especially the rock covers, they are so flimsy and thin. Anything too strong, you'll break them, get them off. We have to put ring compressors on the pistons, obviously already fitted to the con rods, bolted to the crank, because the crank comes out with the rods attached, you see, if you take the crank out. So we've currently got 5 fitted spring compressors on. Let's do the 6th one and I'll show you how we do that. We'll set the piston clamps up and I'll show you the pistons. So here's our last piston. So we've got 3 compression rings and then we're twin oil scraper rings. One near the bottom skirt and then one underneath the compression rings. Our gudgeon pin, if it'll come out. And then the gudgeon pin itself is held on these little snap rings. Now normally you'd have the sump off because then you're building the engine up. That's one of the last things you stick on the Meteor. So if you happen to ping off one of these little snap rings through the sump onto the floor, or obviously you can have a look. I'm having the sump off anyway, but I definitely am now because I've on cylinder 5 on B-bank, I managed to ping the O-ring, ping the snap ring into the sump. I've got spare new ones, so it's not a problem. And it has hit the bottom of the sump. I heard it splash. Yeah, didn't appreciate that. Didn't deserve that. So the pistons, I mean, she ran 150 psi on a compression test, even with the bad valves. So piston rings and pistons I'm not too bothered about, really. They've had a Scotch-Brite up to clean all the carbon off. They've had a wash out on. We've just washed it in petrol, although I'll just give them a final brake clean. So before this is really we want to give it a quick freshen up and get it running a bit better for this season and next. By which point we'll have an engine rebuilt for it. So we should oil the rings. I'm putting lots on, I know. Most of it's going to get squeezed out. Don't really know why I've just oiled the crown, but I have, it's too late. She'll be smoky when she starts up anyway. So the important thing now is to line all the rings up so the gaps are nice and aligned. It's not, but so the important thing now is to let's make sure these rings aren't lined up at all. Annoyingly, I couldn't get any big enough Jubilee clips at our local place, so we're having to use 2. And typically, what I didn't think about when I said, oh, okay, I'll have to use 2, was I'd ask for their biggest O-ring. I'd ask for their biggest Jubilee. What I didn't think about, when they didn't have a big enough Jubilee clip, was I asked for their biggest one, which is only an inch too small. But then I didn't think about swapping to a smaller one when I realised they didn't do it. So the spring compressors, which we've made, are not brilliant, but they do the job. Make sure they're clean. Need to be in 2 halves. So once it's together and you've dropped the piston rings into the cylinder, you can then undo the clamp, take them off in 2 halves. As obviously they'll be over the conrod. They'll be over the conrod. Our piston ring clamp is now together. We just got to slide him down. Have I made it too big? Too small even? Obviously don't want to do it up too tight. So that's now fitted. To start with, we need to have the ring clamp up high above the piston so we can get our gudgeon pin in. We've got a phosphorus bronze little end. It just floats nicely in there. This is quite fiddly to do. You get your finger in this side. Can I rotate this round at all? I can indeed. Gudgeon pin in. Now we've got that pesky snap ring. So our next job is to now line all the centre pistons up at the same height. That way, we've got maximum room to get the bottom ring, the bottom ore scraper ring, in the bottom of the cylinders. So you can get the middle 4 at the same height. They're still low down and awkward, but they're all the same height. You've got maximum on each one. So this is another Aaron special, lift and jig 2.0. Okay. We need, basically, that bolts to our cam pedestal bolts down here with 4 bolts. The hard being is to line up these head stud tubes. So what I normally do is now, if we go down to, we're starting to get in the right place now. You're on that red end one.
I think it's not quite.
Once we go to touch on one of them, you've got to side shift a little bit, do you? Oh, we've got to side shift loads. The idea of this stand is we can then adjust the angle of it, or slowly come down together to get some fine control. Right, so we've got to now slide the piston ring clamps down for the ends, just so the crown's out, so we can then spigot that into the bottom of the liner. What's doing his? That looks about enough. That piston's managed to balance right to the middle. There. This one doesn't. Right, coming down.
Yeah.
Right, film that going into there, Josh.
Ooh.
Oh. That doesn't.
Pass me the blowtorch. You aren't using the blowtorch? No, I want something else.
That doesn't strike me as. And we go down to what? It touches the top ring, the bottom ring. Hold there. Oh.
Now that we're down and just about to touch this oil scraper ring, this one, our piston ring now clamped and can now come off. Try. Right, putting down there for the next adventure.
Yeah.
We're now going to go down until we meet this scraper ring.
Well, hopefully we hit one first.
This one might. That end, one end is closer, and then there's a couple.
Where's the gap?
Gap is car.
And then we just use a pair of circular pliers to compress it.
Right, wind that top span up, Josh.
Go.
Yep.
So we compress it down here with circular pliers, and up here Josh just slowly undoes it and lets it fall onto it.
Whoa. Yep. Keep going down.
Oh, this way.
Yep.
Do you want to just measure that level?
So now we just take a quick measurement just to make sure we're the same height. Over 6. Right, down this side. 3 or 4 mil. Right. Now we bring the bank now until we meet the middle 4 cylinders. We'll join you back in a minute because our cameraman needs to hold a piston.
Yeah, I can't.
Right, top of the pistons are now joined the party. Right, down this end.
So we're at the point now where the bank isn't heavy enough to deal with the friction of the pistons.
Yep.
So we're now having to manually push it down as we go.
Yep. Right, we're square again, so now we come down with a forklift. Right, that's your end, this is my end.
I don't want to get inside the door.
Piston ring clamp's quite tight.
He's having a fag break. He's also editing it, so this won't make the final cut. Probably won't even make the draft cut. That's now down. We've got to film it.
We got carried away.
We decided we're just putting it out. It's on. Josh wants the light. As you see, we've applied well seal everywhere, liberally, so it should seal.
Yep.
Well. So the last thing that had to be lined up was, if he goes to where it is, that tube there. So that's what the tube that the drive shaft for the camshaft sits in, because it's shaft driven. Again, that's O-ringed in. That's now home as well. So we just need to get the forklift out of the way and actually bolt this in.
So Josh has got all the camshaft assembly stripped out now and all the rockers off. One of the most important jobs on this rocker assembly is to make sure all the allways are clear. So you've got these two long shafts that come up, which mount all your rockers. Then the camshaft that bolts in the centre. And you'll see we are full of oil holes down the sides. Oh yeah, and yeah, it is fully drilled. So if Josh pumps some air in here,
This, the demonstration part. Let's put a bit of a good old brake cleaner in there, because you'll see this. Like that.
and you just need to make sure you get something out of every hole.
And not get it in the eye.
Yep. So that one's not blocked. We do the same with the camshaft as well. The camshaft is drilled centrally down the middle and then has oilways. And these engines do suffer from, as you see on our camshafts, they do suffer from top end wear on the cam assemblies. One of the reasons for that is we run 60 psi to the bottom end, but we actually reduce the oil pressure to the rocker assembly and camshafts to 7 psi. Which some of these guys that are running straight 50 and stuff in the UK in Meteors, which I know of another museum that does, I don't think it's a good idea.
How long it takes straight 30 to get to the rockers?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's 2.5 minutes to build up oil pressure in the heads on straight 30. So if you start adding straight 50 to the mix, you are wearing these up massively. Right, onto the clean-up stage. Deliberate mistake. We're now going to fit our cam driving gear. See if you notice our mistake. So here it goes on. Handy little trick is to cable tie the arms so they don't wiggle about. So your next job is to clean the camshaft up.
Yep.
What we've done to the rocker shafts is we've stripped them all out, cleaned them, checked to make sure we've got no excessive wear on there, and more importantly, cleaned out the rocker shafts with clutch and brake cleaner and then blown down with an airline. And you need to make sure you get all of the oil. You need to make sure you get air and brake cleaner out of every hole to make sure everything's been oiled sufficiently.